Now, what kind of mental state or event triggers a person to commit a horrendous crime? To help us unpack that question is psychological crime expert and SAPS Physiological Services Section Head, Brigadier Petunia Lenono. Good evening, Brigadier. Thanks very much for talking to us this evening. I guess when people hear or listen to the Mortimer Saunders case, they try to, figure out, like, what could have happened to anybody for that person to be driven to do what he did?
Rio, thank you so much. I think we need to appreciate the fact that the world is changing. And as such, people sometimes are finding it difficult to adjust to the changing world. And as you may be aware that the SAPS members, they come from the broader community. So the stresses and the factors that affect the normal members of the community, they also affect our members because they come from those communities. But in terms of the research that we have conducted internally, because we have realized that, one suicide is one too many within the SAPS. So the research has shown that relationship issues, they play a pivotal role in terms of suicide and homicide issues, where you find that there may be issues of jealousy, infidelity, or maybe even a low self-esteem on the side of the perpetrator. But coupled with that, there is also the issue of substance abuse, where we find that that also leads somebody to commit suicide or also homicide. Added to that also is other mental health issues that people really don't take seriously. Your issues of depression, your stress, the post-traumatic stress disorder. And SAPS is not like any other organization. It is unique, where our members are in the forefront in terms of fighting crime. So on a daily basis, they are exposed to traumatic incidents, and that affects their psychological well-being. And we are working in an environment, or even in South Africa, there's still that mentality that tigers don't cry. Men shouldn't seek help. And that is a challenge that we are also facing within SAPS, where you find that even when our members are experiencing stress, they don't come out to say, I need help. Instead, they will resort to substance abuse or other manners or behaviors that are really ill-fitting. So we find those factors is not just a linear causal factor that leads to suicide, but it's a myriad of things that really make somebody end up doing such a horrendous issue. And in some instances, we find that members have lost touch with themselves. As a person, you need to have a relationship with yourself. You need to have a relationship with other people. You need to have a relationship with your God or your higher being, whoever or whatever you understand that to be. And we find that sometimes there is that breakage in terms of those three relationships that you must have. So what we are trying to do within SAPS Employee Health and Wellness, we have put forward a number of programs that aims to assist our members in terms of coping with the daily stresses. We have proactive programs. Those are programs that we facilitate to members before any kind of traumatic incident happens. In those programs, we are trying to give them the resilience skills to say, we know that your work involves you being exposed to trauma. So to minimize the effects of trauma, we try to give them coping skills before it even happens.
Okay. You went straight to the issue of the police sergeant who killed himself and his wife in Hout Bay today. Now, if you then have these programs, but on the other hand, you're saying people don't really, or you suggested that people don't really submit themselves or aren't aware of, say, the mental illnesses that they may have. How then do you ensure that, your programs are effective if people aren't really readily submitting to them?
They are aware of our programs. The challenge is that for them to admit that
They have challenges.
Yeah, they have
have
challenges.
problems,
That is where we have a challenge with. So we have made it open because there's also that stigma, or maybe that fear that, if you access employer services, confidentiality issues may be compromised. So we have opened it up to other avenues where we have partnered with our main medical aid, which is PolMed. PolMed has a psychosocial network of providers, which constitutes of private psychologists as well as social workers that the members can access privately without the employer knowing.
That was going to my next question, because then maybe the problem is with the fact that they can't really open up to people they are familiar with because of stigma, prejudice, and other things.
Yes. So we have those. We are working very well with PolMed, and you also have the NGOs like your South African Depression and Anxiety Group. We know that some of our members are accessing that service whenever they need help. Look, we don't really mind where our members get help, as long as they get help. But wherever they feel comfortable, they are welcome to go wherever they.
But have you seen any sort of marked difference in the stats and people's behavior since you started with these programs? In other words, are they making a real difference? Have you been able to measure that over time?
Yes, they are making a difference, although the impact that it's making is not up to our desired level. So it's still work in progress. We would like to see more. We would like to get to a situation where we are saying in one financial year there has been 0 suicides or homicides reported for SAPS. So if we can get to that level, then we would say convincingly that our programs and our interventions have been effective.
Okay, that's where we're going to leave it for this evening. Thanks very much for coming through. Brigadier Petunia Lenono, who is, of course, works with the police to help them deal